I'm about to do a little hit interview talking about crime rates and bail reform and everything, so this should be fun. So here's a little behind the scenes. This is me getting ready.
Hi everybody, I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Joining me now is Eliza Orlins, New York City public defender and former candidate for Manhattan District Attorney. Eliza, thank you so much for joining me.
I'm so happy to be here with you today, Brittany.
I want to talk about some renewed spotlight on crime in New York City. Over the past few weeks, we have seen viral accounts of men apparently punching young women in the face all throughout the city. What do you make of these accounts?
Listen, I'm not one to call into question anything that people are reporting is happening, but overall, I do think that people get whipped into a frenzy quite easily, especially when it comes to crime, and it gets sensationalized. And ultimately, I want to make sure people know that New York City is incredibly safe, crime is down, and it's one of the safest big cities in America.
Crime is overall down, but no one does want to be punched in the face. And when you see these harrowing accounts, it is really scary. And I want to talk about what the New York Police Department posted about one of the alleged assaulters. Quote, the individual has been arrested and charged and is a criminal recidivist with an extensive criminal record. Your NYPD detectives were able to identify the man after he was previously arrested for similar attacks, only to be released back onto our streets. This incident will be his third arrest in the past 6 months. So I want to break this down in a few ways because the NYPD is calling out that this is a repeat offender. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think that we should take everything that the NYPD says with a grain of salt. They regularly put out press releases and say things and make statements that don't comport with what the reality of the situation is. They are frequently misleading, and they'll put out things, and then later when body-worn camera video comes out or when the facts come out, the NYPD is proven wrong time and time again. So first and foremost, I think that we should not be accepting any statement made by the NYPD as fact.
So when you say that they have a different reality of the situation, in your opinion, what's the reality of the situation?
Well, so unfortunately, because I'm not privy to who was arrested, I don't know that person's name, I don't have an ability to look up their rap sheet, I don't know whether or not their prior arrests were real cases or whether those were cases that were ultimately dismissed, whether this person is being targeted by the NYPD, whether this is even the person, whether they even got the right person. There are so many things that remain to be seen. Thankfully, we live in a country where you're innocent until proven guilty, and right now it's just an accusation. Whether or not the facts will bear out, whether or not this person will end up being convicted of this, still remains to be seen.
We've seen in headlines in recent months, whenever there's crimes like this that happen, the viral moments of people getting punched in the face, that the officer who died in the line of duty, and there's always the conversation of bail reform. How do you square bail reform away when it comes into this conversation?
So, it's unbelievable the number of things that people are willing to scapegoat bail reform with being the cause of. For the most part, the things that are happening have absolutely nothing to do with bail reform. And in fact, bail reform is an excellent policy and will keep our city safer and has already done so given that crime is down. Bail reform was put into place so that people who are presumed innocent, who simply lack the means to afford to buy their freedom, don't sit in custody for days, weeks, months, or even years waiting for their day in court, waiting for their trial. Obviously the case of Khalif Browder is the one that comes to everyone's mind. Someone, a young kid who was accused of stealing a backpack, who spent 3 years at Rikers Island before his case was dismissed because he and his family could not afford to pay the monetary bail, just a few $1,000s. And ultimately he took his own life based on having spent that time at Rikers Island. He never recovered. So, bail reform is a good thing. It keeps us safe. And in fact, these short stints of pretrial detention lead to more crime because people who are held in custody often lose their jobs, they can lose their home, they can lose their children to foster care, and they come out worse than they were when they went in. And that is why we need bail reform, to make sure that we are not just, detaining people in this wealth-based detention,